a technique that's used to gain consensus, basically to give the illusion of public support for anything. And because they have to get public to buy into all this stuff, you know, they have to pretend that everybody wants it. You're the only one that doesn't want this. You're the one that's crazy.
You're weird.
Right. So when they have meetings, you know, and they have a lot of them, public workshops, visioning, whatever, on any number of topics, they've already got the conclusion. They already know what they want. You know, they want stack and pack housing, mass transit. They just want you to think that's what you want. And so they get a bunch of people, and they usually have shills in the rooms with you, facilitators. They have, you know, of course, activists that are there. They have the developers that are there. They have all the people that are going to, you know, of course, benefit by all of this.
Sure.
And they're all there, and they're all voting. So, you know, it's stacked against you. If you speak out, you are ridiculed, you are marginalized, you are, you know, again, in real life, we're being Delphi'd every day in California. It's called political correctness, and it's called shut them up. It's all about shutting you down. It's all about calling you a racist. It's all about calling you whatever, you know, intolerant. You're intolerant because you don't want your 5-year-old to learn about, you know, someone's lifestyle, which, you know, I don't care what people do. I just don't want my 5-year-old to have to deal with that at 5. You know what I mean?
Right.
They should be learning to read and write. You know, I can help fill in the blanks and stuff like that later on. But it's all part of that bigger agenda. And the way they try to shut us down. And they've done a very good job of that in California for a long time. I mean, conservatives wouldn't even, I'm conservative. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it got to the point where you couldn't talk about politics. They don't want us talking about politics. They don't want us talking about anything that actually means something.
Right.
Because then we might figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the reasons they've been able to steamroll us is by using this technique. And so, you know, but it's gotten to the point where I'm not going to be silent anymore. You know,
Good.
Again, rip the Band-Aid off. Start talking about it. If somebody doesn't want to talk about it, too bad. You know what? They don't have to talk about it. They don't want to listen to it, too bad. To reverse the Delphi technique is what I do, okay? What are you, racist? And then laugh, you know, because it really is a stupid thing, you know? How many times can you play the racist card? It doesn't mean it's just so ridiculous now. Do not buy into it. Do not feel bad. You know, I don't care if you're Catholic and raised on guilt. That's how I was. Get over it.
Sure.
You know, we are trying to save our country here for our kids.
Right.
And we need to speak up and speak out and do it often.
So if you're considered rude, too bad.
Well, you know what? Yeah, but, you know, be assertive. It's called being assertive.
Yeah.
See, they want to tell you it's rude because you're not saying what they want to hear. So when you speak up, and, you know, I went to one of their meetings and said, excuse me, you know, can you define open space? Because they said, well, you know, one of their questions was that in the Delphi technique, they wanted us to rank, you know, what our values were, how we felt about conserving open space. Is that important to us or not important to us? And I said, excuse me, what do you mean by open space? Is that government space? What is that? You know, oh, well, it's whatever you want it to be. It's any space that is not developed, currently developed. And I said, well, that open space is somebody's private property. You know, it's not just open space. I mean, if you're talking about somebody's government property, then that's fine. Do whatever you want with it. Conserve it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all for that, right?
Yeah.
But when you're talking about telling someone they can't build on their private property because we don't think they should, because it should be open to everybody, we don't have a right to do that. And so they tried to shut me down. And they tried to, one person told me I was a racist. And so, but the point is that, you know what, it's like, listen, you know what, one of the things that distinguishes America from other countries is the fact that we do own private property.
That's right.
That we can accumulate wealth.
Yeah.
That we can, you know, that was one of the things that we could do. Other countries, they don't buy property. They have to rent it. They lease it from the government.
Right.
It's not their property. So, you know, for us to just say, yeah, we don't want that guy to build on his ridge line. that he owns. That's wrong. We should not be saying that. So you need to really think about that. But you need to speak out. You need to speak out for your neighbors. You need to protect your neighbor's private property as if it were your own.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, when they come for your property, nobody's going to protect
That's
you.
right. That's right. Now is our window of opportunity.
Which is why I went to the supervisors meeting and spoke out for the people of El Sobrante who
Right.
didn't know what was happening to them. They don't know.
Yeah.
And, so for those of us that are awake, we need to double our efforts. We need to double our efforts. We need to speak out, and we need to speak out often. And the thing, they fear that. Oh my gosh, they haven't been challenged, especially in California, for so long, that it's amazing how good it feels to stand up for yourself. And it's not being rude. It is not being rude. What they are doing is rude. What they are doing
That's
is
right.
wrong.
Suppressing truth.
And that is exactly what we need to do. We need to say, you know what, I am right, and I'm going to speak out about it, and what they are doing is wrong. And when you start pointing it out, pointing the finger back at them, they start running. And
That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
And they don't, they're not as tough as they think. When you start actually standing up and using your voice, and it doesn't have to be screaming, it doesn't have to be that, it just has to be assertive, then they actually back down.
That's typical of a bully.
It totally is.
They're all blustery and mean, and
That's
and
right.
you.
And when you get in their face and you actually call them on it,
Yeah.
they back down.
Yeah.
And that's what we
good.
have here, is we have someone who's been allowed to bully us as a community,
Yeah.
as a Californians, who's been able to bully us because we wanted to go along to get along, and we didn't want to make waves. Well, too late and too bad, because you know what? This is what we got, and we're guilty of that. But we have a voice now, and we need to use it. And however that is for you, if that's writing a letter, if that's whatever it is, editorials, get your thoughts down on paper. If you don't want to speak about it, get your thoughts down on paper, send it into your local magazine. You'd be surprised at how many people read this stuff online, and don't know about it. They don't know what's really happening. They know something's wrong. They feel the same way. They just don't have a name for it. There's people that own property, and that liberals, Democrats, whatever. There's people that are losing their property and they don't know why.
Mm.
And so it's an issue we can all get behind.